Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Mindshifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeannie. Michael and Jeannie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rachma. Michael is the author of So Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeannie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeannie Ryce.
To the brightness within you and the truth that is rooted within me.
Hi, and welcome to Mindshifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. There's a little bit of noise in the background. We're in a cafeteria here doing the show in Jacksonville, Florida. Today is our Memorial Day celebration, number 344. We're almost at the year point, at which time I'm going to quit counting and we'll just keep it on going. But anyway, we welcome you to the show. Please call in if you want to talk to Michael. Press 1. That puts you in queue. David is already with us. And welcome, Michael, to the show. Okay. I can't hear you. All right. A little bit of technical difficulty. I don't hear you at all. No. Okay. You're not coming through at all. All right, excuse us, folks, while we're trying to work out details here. Check and see if your phone itself is on mute, maybe. Okay, he's going to hang up and call back in. So welcome to the show, everybody. Hello, David. How are you doing? Are you back headed to Heartland? David, can you hear me? Okay, we're having a little more trouble than we realized here. David, if you're not hearing me, hang up and dial back in maybe, because I'm showing I've got you turned on. There's Michael.
Okay, well, let's see if we've got sound this time. Can you hear me this time? Awesome. Well, welcome to the show. Here we are, life on the road. It is definitely awesome what we can do with technology, and once in a while the glitches get in the way, like last Friday where we weren't able to have a show at all because the switchboard was down. But anyway, we are here. We're in Jacksonville, Florida, and we're delighted to be here. Our Memorial Day observance and Veterans Day observance is about recognizing the insanity on our planet of this game called war, this non-human game called war, and bringing a change to that. And how could you possibly bring a change to that game would be, of course, the logical question, because it seems like it's such a part of the fabric of what's called humanity. And my input is that it is not part of the fabric of humanity. It is part of the fabric of the non-human condition on planet Earth. And when we talk about the human condition, we're talking about actual human life. And the way you can determine what actual human life is just hold a newborn child. And if you hold a newborn child, you know exactly what human life is. Where that love is not present, you do not have human life. And, of course, all kinds of insanity rules. How are we going to get rid of the insanity? Well, here's the plan. We'd love you to be part of it. And that is that we're going to invite you to be one who says, if I'm functioning out of hostility or fear, instead of blaming someone else, I'm going to take responsibility. And as I take responsibility, I'm going to learn to remove the parts of me that hold hostility and fear removal of those parts of you is called forgiveness. You have to engage in the forgiveness process in order to do that. It doesn't happen just automatically, willy-nilly. It's a very serious piece of work that needs to be done in order to move out of the game of hostility and fear. And when we get to a point where we have a critical mass, because the human frequency is a higher vibration than the non-human, what's going to happen, according to an ancient physicist named Yeshua, the man traditionally known as Jesus, but his name was actually Yeshua, and his work in his teaching, if you go back to the original Aramaic, is about physics, it's about physiology, it's about genetics, it's about how the world works. And that human frequency being the higher level, what he says is a little leavening leavens the whole loaf. It's an engineering principle, a principle of physics called critical mass. So when he says a little leavening leavens the whole loaf, he's not talking about bread. He's talking about we as human beings functioning out of our true human existence, functioning out of a true human life, and bringing that human life into the world. When we get enough people who are willing to actually take the level of responsibility that it takes to do that, then we're going to have critical mass. It's going to be a shift. There's going to be a change. And we're here to support and bring forward that change into the world. It's been taught for thousands of years, and we're now getting to the point where, because of this wonderful access to the world of physics on a deeper level, a world of understanding what's going on, we can now see the light, see the possibility. And so we invite you to join the team that changed the world by learning to embody a human life in every circumstance, learning to forgive that which is unlike your humanness, that is, all forms of hostility or fear. If you'd like to know how the forgiveness process works, if this is a new idea to you, it'll take some time. Hang around for a little bit, be patient. It'll take some time to start to think in a human way as opposed to the non-thinking, non-human way of functioning in the world. So we'll invite you to stay around long enough to understand that. And if you go to our website, which is www.whyagain.com, on the right-hand side, you'll see a link that says Download Worksheets. We invite you to go into that link. And the first 7 or so links, there are dozens of links under that area, but the first 7 or so are all about the ancient Aramaic process of forgiveness, how to change the output of your mind. And so we're here to support you in that, and that's what we're committed to. And we invite you to join us in that. You can download my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again, free on the website. You can order it as well. There's DVDs, there's CDs. We invite you, if you care to support our work. If this work is benefiting you, beyond a reasonable level of living, every cent, every resource, everything we have is devoted to the ancient work of bringing forward forgiveness into the world. And if you want to support that, you can go to our website. There's a donate button you can hit to and do that. But in any event, we're delighted that you're with us. We're delighted to have this opportunity. And Jeannie, do we have anybody in the chat room? Anything happening in the switchboard? Well, she shakes her head no. So it's just us right now, folks. David, I understand you're there. Let's see if we can hear you this time around.
Well, he was there, and then he disappeared off the switchboard, so he hasn't come back on yet.
Oh, okay. Well, our call-in number is 646-200-4169, 646-200-4169. And we'd be delighted to hear your sweet voice if you're on the switchboard. If you have hit one, we've been having difficulties for the last week or so with the switchboard. If you have hit one and you're not getting through, you're not showing up right now, if you have, please let us know so that we can address this with Blog Talk Radio and get this cleared up, because it's definitely interrupted and interfered with the whole process of doing the show. So if you'd let us know, and or if you have done that, we'd invite you to hang up. If you hit a 1, that's what puts you through to, so Ginny knows that you want to talk to us. And so if you have hit 1, then we'd invite you to hang up and call back in again, if you would, and hit 1 again and see if you can get into the queue. And so our schedule, if you're in Jacksonville, Florida, we're in Jacksonville all this week. We did Why Is This Happening to Me Again? We spoke at the Unity Church, and Did Why Is This Happening to Me Again yesterday afternoon. Tonight, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 7 to 9:30, we'll be doing a series of free workshops. Tonight we're doing on creating consciously. We'll look at how the creative process works. And, of course, these are DVDs. If there are topics you want to get more engaged in, you can go to the website and link into the catalog, and you can order them. So tomorrow night we'll do Healing Through Relationships. Used to be entitled Healing Your Relationships, and then I discovered that there's no such thing as a diseased relationship. Every relationship will perfectly reflect you, every part of you that's in need of healing. Should you choose to heal, then you will find that your relationships will start to shift and change. And so that'll be Tuesday night, and actually tomorrow morning, if you're in town at 10:30, we're doing a meditation service at Unity as well. It's the Unity on Lomax. Wednesday night, we're going to do communication. Did you hear what I think I said? And that offers a set of tools for moving from projection communication, the kind of so-called communication that says, you did it to me, into responsibility communication, where you recognize your responsibility and you language from a place where you know what's actually happening in the world rather than playing the game of projection. It's all everybody else's fault. So that'll be Wednesday night. Thursday, I'm going to get into doing one of my favorite and what I think it to be one of the most thought-provoking lessons in A Course in Miracles. It's called What is the World? So we're going to do that one on Thursday night, and then on Friday night, we'll be doing Codependence to Interdependence. Saturday, all-day workshop. It's the one workshop when we travel that we charge a fee for. So Saturday, we'll be doing Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathing. And then once we're finished here, we've actually got a couple of weeks in Fort Lauderdale, a couple of weeks in the Bahamas, and then we're back to head in the direction of Heartland. We may be adding another workshop or two along the way. I'm not sure at this point. We're talking with a couple of folks. Pardon me. And then we'll be heading to Heartland, and at Heartland we'll start out on the 12th of July with a 10-day Food, Fun, Forgiveness, and Work program. And it's an economy program that we do at Heartland each year. This one's got a little bit of a new wrinkle in that we're adding food into the process, aside from our regular dietary regimen. Chef Ari is going to come. It was his idea to tap in and do this introductory program to food. And so Ari is probably the most encyclopedic person that I know, if there is such a word, in terms of food and how to handle food and what the story is with food. And he's helped us set up all of our recipes and the whole food program at Heartland, so we appreciate him big time. And he's going to be there for that 10 days, and he's promised us some new recipes and some new food processes. And we're going to be doing both cooked food and raw food for that 10 days. So if you're interested in doing that, it's a 10-day residential program. We'll be doing some work projects on the property, getting the property ready for the intensives this year. And then we'll be moving into evening workshops. We'll be doing Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathing at least twice throughout the 10 days. So if you want to come and join us, the cost for the whole 10-day process is $750, and that includes everything: food, accommodations, workshop materials, the whole works. So we'd invite you to come play with us for Food, Fun, Forgiveness, and Work projects at Heartland, July 12th to the 21st. And then on the 23rd, we'll start a 9-day Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And that's an intensive we actually just did twice here in Florida. Back 3 weeks ago, we did back-to-back Why intensives with very full and very excited groups of folks. It was an awesome happening. Both events were just awesome. So we're going to do that again in Heartland starting on the 23rd of July. And 9 days out from that, we'll complete that Why Is This Happening to Me Again 9-day intensive in the morning. And in the evening, we'll start right into a 9-day teacher training. So if you're interested in teaching this work, or you want to just deepen your experience and understanding, the last 9 days is totally focused in still point breathing and the deepening the understanding of the process of forgiveness. So you would be most welcome to join us. And if you have a question for us, if we were sitting face to face, would you have a question for me or for Jeannie? And if you would, I'm going to invite you to push 1. And what that will do is it will put your hand up in the control panel, and Jeannie will know that you have a question for us. We would love to be partakers of your questions. That's one of the things that makes the show really live, and so we would be delighted to hear from you. Our calling number is 646-200-4169, and please give us a call. We'd love to hear what you have to say. We'd love to support you in this process of learning the ancient Aramaic process of forgiveness. And I had a conversation the other day with somebody about the Aramaic idea of humility, and where our culture teaches us that humility has something to do with groveling in the earth like a worm. In the Greek language, that's the connotation, but in the English derivatives. But in the Aramaic, it's a whole different thing. Humility is a mental quality of being able to look for and cooperate only with the highest and best in another. So that's the definition from the Aramaic of humility, and the definition that we work with. So where much of our culture has trained us, even and especially in actually religious circles, to find something wrong with ourselves, to be condemning of ourselves, to be judgmental of ourselves, to even take on labels that are absolutely insane, that have nothing to do with human life. In the Aramaic, instead of the Greek connotation of humility, look for something terrible about yourself, the Aramaic is to look for something wondrous about yourself, to retrain your mind, to get out of the good old family feeling of finding something wrong in every circumstance, and to get into a new habit, and that is the new habit, even when there's something that's off base, new habit of looking for something wondrous, wonderful, and something to love about what's happening in your world. And as you train your mind, you'll start to live in a different world. Both options are always there. They're always available. But when you take the Aramaic definition of the word humility and start to do that process of looking for the highest and best, looking for the good and going about doing good, then your evidential mind will change. It will start to show you a different world. And so that's what we're heading toward with the whole idea of humility in this work, is the Aramaic definition. And, you know, when we hear from people who are locked into the lowest and worst, they'll tell you how, you know, like one of the questions we get a lot when we talk about human life is, well, how could a human being do such terrible things as we hear about some of these atrocities? And our input is that human beings can't do those things. Those things are not done by human beings. It's not possible. And then you'll hear from people, yeah, I guess it's just those animal instincts. And it's like, no, that's blaming the animal creatures who would never do the insane things that humans do. They would never even conceive of doing such things. The only one who can do an atrocity is one whose mind is defiled by words of hostility and fear. They're the only ones who strike out at their own family systems. They're the only ones who strike out at their children, at their spouses. They're the only ones who live in that insane fantasy world of hostility and fear. And, you know, there's an interesting quote in Romans that says, "You are full of goodness." That's the truth about you. Now, there are other passages you can quote that says you're something else. Excuse me. You got to pick one or the other. Make mine humility. You are full of goodness. That's the truth about you. Have you done some crazy stuff? Have I? Yes, we all have. But that's not who we are. You are full of goodness. That's how you are created to be. That's how you, as a human, are designed to function. And so when you recognize that, you see that when you look at others and you have pain or trauma, you're using those others as a sounding board for something that's going on in your own mind. And when you redo and move to humility and retrain your mind, then what you will see around you is symbols that are reminders of your goodness and your wholeness and your human life. Otherwise, the stress that happens when we're not doing that, when we're not functioning as humans, the stress causes circuits to crash in our minds. And when those circuits crash, the only ones in operation are those that produce suffering. And the suffering comes from what's going on inside of us. It does not come from the events. A lot of people think, well, I'm suffering over this thing that happened. Excuse me. No, you're not suffering over this thing that happened. You're suffering over the contents of your mind about that thing that event has triggered in you. And many people think that it's the events in their lives that produce suffering, and I offer it is not the events in your life that produce suffering. It's suffering that produces the events. The sufferings are the cause level. And when you recognize that, then you have a chance to start to change everything that's happening within yourself. And ridding yourself of stress that is not useful and productive. And we live in a culture that, is kind of giving stress a bad rap all the way around. But in fact, stress is an absolutely necessary device. It is the motivator of all behavior. And there are useful stresses that you can engage in, and there are destructive stresses that you can engage in. So which ones you do depends on how your mind has been changed. When these circuits crash under destructive stress, there are certain capacities that shut down. And as those capacities shut down, the human life is gated out of the mind. There's an interesting piece of research that was done with cats, and they did an EEG implanted actually in the brain of the cat, in the area of the brain where sound is registered. They implanted an EEG probe, hook it up to the EEG machine, and then they have a clicking device that they click in the ear of the cat. And when they click that device in the ear of the cat, of course the oscilloscope that registers the EEG flips, and there you see the sound going through the brain. But it's interesting, when they put the cat under the stress of a mouse in a bell jar in front of it, same cat, same circumstance, same electrode hooked up, once the cat sees the mouse, they can click that clicking device until the cows come home. No sound registers in the area of the brain where the sound would normally show up. It's gated out of the mind. And that's basically what stress does. Stress gates out those things that otherwise are useful to us. And as you recognize that, then you get to start to change those circuits in your mind that filter out human characteristics like sensitivity, caring, actually literally, physically, pleasure, aliveness, joy, creativity, intuition. All of those things begin to disappear. Intelligence. And interestingly enough, one other piece that disappears is immunity. Literally, under that kind of stress, the immune system begins to shut down. And so you see the disappearance of human life where there are excessive quantities of destructive stress. And if you look at our media, the way that it continuously feeds us information, you see this destructive stress being fed every day. There's something else to be in fear of. There's something else to be angry about. And if those circuits are active in your mind, then empathy and the things that support human life will tend to disappear. And away goes human life, and the replacement is anything but human. The replacement is the kind of expression that can do the atrocities that we're talking about. And so here we are working to bring forward the active presence of a human life into each of our worlds and to let go of, to let loose of everything unlike our human lives. So if you're interested in joining us in that conversation, we'd love for you to just call into the show, 646-200-4169. Push 1, and by pushing 1, that will put your hand up in the chat room, and we'll know, or not in the chat room, but in the control panel, and we'll know that you want to chat with us. So, Jeannie, is there anything happening in the chat room, or do we have any callers pushing a one?
No, it's really quiet today. There's very few people in either the chat room or the switchboard.
Well, I wonder where everybody is when the folks that are there. Talk to us. What's on your mind? What's your highest thought for the day? Push one and let us know. We'd love to hear from you. What kinds of things, when we are under destructive stress, are impacted by that destructive stress? And the destructive stress is based in all forms of hostility and fear. So circulation is impaired. Separation, hostility, fear, coldness, terror, defensiveness, blame, aggressiveness. They're all things that are enhanced by excessive stress. And you look at what's taking over our culture, and you see that that's just about what's running the game at this point. And it's time for us to wake up and to realize that there's a different game to be played. And the different game to be played is the game of human life. This awesome, active presence of love that we are, to bring that forward into our world and into expression. Jeannie, is David called back in? I wonder what happened. Okay. So if you have a question for us, 646-200-4169. We'd love to hear your sweet voice. And if you have any thoughts to share with us, push one. Or if you're in the chat room, give us a question, give us a thought. Wherever you'd like to see us head, what topic would you like to see us get into next? If you and I were sitting one-on-one at a table right now, and you're on the phone, would you have a question for me? And, we certainly ask for where you are and what your name is, but you can do it totally anonymously, not required. Call yourself Joe or Mary or whoever, and we're here to support you in the process of healing. So, Janie, do you have anything to offer today as we move through the ideas of forgiveness?
No, I don't have anything on that. One of the things that, especially when you were talking about food, fun, forgiveness, and work, is the understanding of food. One of the things that I'm writing about in my psychology class right now has to do with the food that's served to the children in schools and the obesity of childhood and the diseases that go along with that. A comment from one of my fellow students was talking about that their biggest thing that they feel like they need to get rid of is that they drink so much Mountain Dew. And so I was doing just kind of a quick search on what all is in Mountain Dew, and it's horrific. So people needing to know to have more knowledge of food and to pay attention to what they're putting in their body and the effects that it has on the body. And so that's another good thing that we're going to learn from Ari when we spend 10 days with him, is that everything that he prepares is just awesome, pure, good food.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, Mountain Dew has one of the highest levels of caffeine of any of the sodas that are out there. I believe there's about 16 teaspoons of sugar in a single serving of that drink. And phosphoric acid, a substance that if you were to put it into laundry detergent, if you were a manufacturer, they'd put you in jail because it's so toxic to the environment. But you can put it in little kids' drinks and then bribe the schools to let you put your machines in so the kids will spend their money on those things. And then you do the research on the behavior problems. I don't know, Jeannie, if you've looked at any of the behavior stuff in the prisons when they've reduced sugar or removed sugar in schools and violence and such. Have you looked at that at all?
No, I haven't pulled that up yet, but one of the factors is high fructose corn syrup is the number one ingredient, besides water. But that in a 12-ounce can of Mountain Dew, there's 46 grams of sugar, which isn't really sugar, it's high fructose, and it has 54 milligrams of caffeine.
Okay. I just got a text from Carrie Ellis, and she says she's pushed 1 in the host queue but isn't showing up. Her number is she there at all? Even though her hand's not up. I think it's 9.
There's a 901.
I think it's 9. I think it is, yes.
All right. Let's turn on 901 then. And 901.
Hello, I'm just listening.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good.
I forget what.
There is. It just flipped over and 970 is popped on. Is that her?
Okay, that's Carrie then.
970. You're on the air.
Hi, Michael and Jeannie. Yeah,
Our apology.
can you hear
We're
me?
still working on the technology end of this thing.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Again, loud and clear. We got you.
Good. Yeah, I tried calling back several times, and I never showed up. I've been in and out like probably 7 or 8 times to see if I could get through. But that's okay. No worries. I just wanted you to know.
Yes.
So I totally love this work. I'm going to see if I can get a couple people in the Daytona area to come to a couple of your Jacksonville meetings. We'll see if we can get them motivated enough to go down there. It'd be really nice. I'm wondering for your insights today on, I would like the definition of Satan again, and I'm wondering if you guys have a list of, would be really neat to have in the download section. I haven't seen it yet, but maybe it is there. But it would be a list of Aramaic terms and what the Aramaic translation is. That would be really a neat thing to have, because I'm trying to, I guess, learn what those are, and I don't always remember them. So that's why I'm calling in to ask. And it's such a neat thing to understand and grasp. And then I'd also like your insights on jealousy, which seems to be something that probably I've dealt with since childhood, and I know that I can see it in some of the genetic coding and all of that, and I'd like to get myself free of those kind of layers.
Well, my input would be that I'm just going to switch headsets here, see if that works. Okay? Sounding okay? So my input on jealousy, well, first of all, Satan in the Aramaic. Satan, translated properly from the Aramaic, means the resistor, one who misleads. So when I'm out of harmony with truth, and the way I know I'm out of harmony with truth is that my mind is generating, my emotions are generating some form of hostility or fear. When I'm out of harmony with truth and truth shows up, what will tend to happen is I'll go into resistance. I don't want to hear that. I don't believe that. I have a story of my own, and my story is all about you and what you've done to me. So it's the resistor. That's the first half of the definition from the Aramaic. And the second half is one who misleads. So when we are working out of this state of resistance, the tendency is to be misled into beliefs about situations and people and ourselves even that are simply not accurate, that are simply, insane. They're crazy. They just have no bearing on what's actually going on. And so you take a look at all the stories in the world that tell us how we have to kill, we have to be at war, we have to fight with each other, we have to separate from each other. There are enemies out there, there are bad guys out there, look what they're doing to me again, are all satanic thoughts in the Aramaic. They're from a state of denial and dissociation and resistance to responsibility, and it creates these hallucinations that there's somebody out there that's the problem in my life and that I'm not. I don't have anything to deal with. I'm doing just fine. It's them. And as you recognize that dynamic in your life, then one of the deepest levels of source for that kind of reality structure is the one where one does not feel connected. And in the codependence workshop, we get into several what we call the pseudo-solutions of the non-being mind. And one of the pseudo-solutions of the non-being mind is struggling to make up for a non-being life, that we're not living as humans, therefore there's no fulfillment, there's no satisfaction. And without satisfaction, the struggle is, well, I just need something. So give me more money, give me more power, give me more sex, give me more fancy cars, give me bigger houses, then I'll be happy, then I'll be satisfied. And the lack of the condition of a human life, the lack of the knowledge of oneself as the active presence of love, leads to all of that. One of the expressions, as I would see it, of this pseudo-solution of struggling to make up for a non-being life is, I want what you have. What I have isn't good enough. And so it's always that pursuit. I know if you look around, everybody, it's just such a common dynamic. Everybody wants to be somebody else. I know this one young lady who has this absolutely awesome, beautiful, natural blonde hair. It's just gorgeous. And she dyes it brown. The first time I saw her with this brown hair dyed, it's like, what are you doing? Most women would kill to have your hair. But, that belief, that separation and that belief that I'm not good enough is the game of, well, I need somebody else's. If I could look like somebody else, if I could just be, and that's all a fantasy. And that jealousy is an expression of that fantastical idea that you are not the presence of love, and therefore you need something else to complete you, whether it's stuff or people or, I guess in the stuff world it would be envying someone else their stuff. In the relationship world it would be jealousy would be, well, if I only had a relationship with that person, then I would be okay, then I would be fulfilled. But it's interesting to note over the long haul, one of the things I've observed over the last 45 years of doing this work is the very thing that attracts a person. They're attracted because they see somebody they think has something they don't have. And then, and they think, I believe the unconscious dynamic of this is, they think, and I can get it from you because you've got it. And when you can't give it to me, the very same thing that attracted me to you will be the thing that repels me from you. I've just watched that over and over and over and over again in relationship. And I think it's based in that jealousy dynamic of, I don't want to be, I don't have it, and you've got it, and you need to give it to me. And once you get to the point where you move these blocks out, I got a phone call a couple of nights ago from a young lady that came to Heartland 2 years ago, major issues and trauma in her relationship with her husband. He wants to go out and flitter and flirt around and do whatever he wants to do, and she wants a totally monogamous, committed relationship. And she's got just this huge pain about it. And she's been seriously doing her work around that for 2 years. And she called me 2 nights ago just overjoyed and excited. And what had happened is she'd done a worksheet on around that issue of relationship. And what came up as she touched into the deeper part of the worksheet was that in her relationship with her mother couldn't handle her as a newborn, as a small child. And so the memory that she got in touch with was that when she would cry, her mother would take her and slam her into the mattress, trying to get her to stop. Her mother was just overloaded, overstressed, and would slam her into the mattress. And the conclusion that she got in touch with, having made about life from that perspective, from the pain of being slammed into the mattress, is, I'm on my own. I have to do it all by myself. Nobody will ever be there for me. And as soon as she got in touch with that and forgave in regard to that issue, she all of a sudden, and for her it was just like a major, mega breakthrough, she all of a sudden had this total influx and total infilling of love. She just had a direct physical experience of her human expression, of her human life. She had that infilling, that cellular experience of this awesome presence of love. And all of a sudden, all the dynamics that she'd been working through with her husband totally shifted and totally changed, right down to the point where every time she would bring up, his desire to flirt and what have you, he would go into a rage. And like almost immediately after having had this experience and this infilling of love, dealing with and forgiving the belief that she had to do it all by herself, and that, her mother couldn't handle her, and she was able to forgive that whole dynamic in herself, all of a sudden, she and her husband are talking about these issues without conflict, without, his anger's gone, the whole conversation's changing. And that I would see as a jealousy issue, and where her jealousy issue rooted was being a very small, in the newborn phase, the early days of her life, and having a mother that was, whatever was going on for mom, would slam her into the mattress to try to shut her up. So there'd be some of the perspectives I would offer on jealousy, and the only
discussion. That gave me. I just had some insights triggered just from listening to you share all that. Really great.
Cool.
Thank you. And it's snowing here. You'd love to hear that.
It's snowing.
It's snowing.
Well, just a second. Let me hear you say that again. I'm going to walk out the door into the 87 degree heat here in Jacksonville.
I know. It's snowing. We're supposed to be raining, but it's snowing today. So. Really?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you're in Colorado Springs?
Yep, Colorado
Springs.
Colorado right, Springs. We're right on the edge of the Rockies, so we're at 7,000 feet. So it's a mountainous area.
Yeah.
But
well, everybody makes their choices, right?
Huh?
I say everybody makes their choices, right?
Everybody makes choices. Someday I'll make different ones, but right now this one's working for me.
Yeah, it sounds like it really is serving you really well, and
it is serving
we're
me
here.
Incredibly. Yeah.
Cool.
Someday I'll bask in the sunshine with you guys. And thank you so much, though. That was very insightful, and really just sharing that other person's story, and I just have about 10 things that just surfaced that I can go start doing worksheets on. So thank you. Very good. And if you get a chance sometime. Well. Pardon?
I say, say thank you to her as well, because when she called me, she was just in such excitement at having gotten in touch with what was a pretty traumatic experience, but having the forgiveness tool in hand, was just able to pop right through it and come out the other side with this infilling. I mean, she said it was an actual physical infilling of love that was just awesome.
Yeah, thanks to her for sharing that, too, because it's really helping me a lot. I mean, I just accessed some things from my infancy as you shared that story. So, really, really great that I think are tied. I'm not going to start to cry. Anyway, very cool. And also, if you ever have a chance, there isn't a sheet. Is there a sheet of Aramaic terms besides what's on our worksheet?
There is not at this point. In the book we published called Enlightenment, there is a first century dictionary. You can go back and look at the Aramaic definitions of the word. But another good resource in that regard, although a lot of it doesn't reach to the depth that we've gone with the Kaboris manuscript, is anything of George Loms's. Lom's has got gospel light, more light in the gospel, idioms of the Bible explained. There's some awesome stuff in those texts. And some of them are out of print. Rocco Errico, whose website is Noohra, Noohra.com, has his books that he's republishing. He's doing some editing. He and George Lomsa were working on new texts when Lomsa passed away. And so Rocco is republishing some of that material. So you might touch into Noohra.com.
Yeah, I remember being connected to Rocco through the Sun organization 30 years ago.
Right.
So I'll go look him up again. And is the book you published, is that available or is that out of print? Enlightenment?
It is. Yes, it's Enlightenment, and we are just actually in the process of doing some editing on it and getting ready to reprint it. Should be ready within a few weeks. We'll have it back in print.
Okay. I'll put me on the list. I'll take one.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Okay. Thanks so much.
Thanks for your
Have
call.
an awesome day and have a good time in Jacksonville.
All right. Have a blessed one. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Area code 517, you're on the air.
Well, hello there.
Hi.
Did
Hey,
you
Rick,
correct
welcome
calling?
to the show.
Thank you. Did you get my text, Michael?
Oh, I haven't seen. Oh, you sent me it? No, I didn't see it.
I sent it like Carrie did. I had my hand up right from the beginning when you said, that there is nobody there. And so I put my hand up, and then when she texted you, I went ahead and texted you too so you could see that.
Thank you.
Jeannie, did it finally show up that I had my hand up?
Yeah, it finally did. After Carrie showed up, then yours popped in too. There was actually
Isn't that
another person
interesting?
that was on there, but they've disappeared now. So.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to let you know that. And also, it was a great story about, and Carrie, thank you for your questions. Those are excellent questions and good information to hear and rehear and hear over and over again and get more pieces to the puzzle. I really enjoyed the sharing about the cat. And what a perfect symbol of how we quite often function, with how we see things. And one of the things I love to share in my workshops is the part about vision, how we turn everything we see is upside down and how we have to write it in our minds first. And then there's also blank spots in our actual visual perception, the energy we were taking into our eyes, and we have to fill those in too. So it's kind of like that. And when that you've shared and we've all heard so many times, when the 9-bit mind is full of an idea, we really can't see anything else. And it's to the extent that we think we're seeing other things because we have developed all these evidential resources in our mind that tells us we're seeing more than we really are. And it's the whole idea of hallucinating that we speak of in the worksheet. So I just thought that the idea on the cat was really good. I'm going to use that for sure. Florida. I'm getting a call from Florida.
Oh, okay.
It's probably my nephew who went to see you yesterday, Justin and Jackie. At any rate, so I just wanted to share that, and also love the conversation, and love to see us be able to get whatever technological issues we're working on here. And I haven't heard from Dr. Tim. How's he doing?
He hasn't been on the show in several days, so I haven't talked to him since last week, I guess, midweek or so. So,
well, he always
as far as I
offers
know,
so much.
All is well.
Cool.
Say again?
Well, he always offers so much, and he gives another perspective, and it's nice to hear that. So I just wanted him to know that and appreciate him as well. One thing I did, and you've talked about it, and I thought it might be something, since we have kind of an open show today, a few more minutes left, you may take a few moments to talk about how when we get triggered on world issues and things that seem to be out of our control, if you could speak on how the energetic, transference happens when we clear that issue in us, or we clear that fear or that, challenge. And I'm referring to our conversation we had earlier, but I won't get into the specifics of it, obviously. But I would love to have you speak on that. I think it's always good to hear over and over again what we can do and how the work that we're doing internally can actually hugely affect what's happening in the world. When we feel like we're just one, of the 6 or 7 billion people that we have on the planet now, and gosh, how could we do anything? We're just a little person and with, quote, not much power and, et cetera, et cetera. So that would be, I thought would be a great topic to, reaffirm again.
Well, of course, that's the teaching of the world, that you're just this little person that is meaningless. But the truth is, you, in resonance with God, are a majority. Each one of us is a PowerPoint for the presence of active love on the planet. If we filter that through hostility or fear, it doesn't show up as love. It shows up as something insane, as you're talking about an hallucination. And the marker, or the indicator in the human mind that there's an hallucination going on is any form of hostility or fear. And so when you clear your own channels of perception of all hostility or fear around an issue, then you become a very, very powerful space for changing that issue, for shifting the energy around that issue. And so, like for instance, in the TM world, they've gone in several times to cities and brought in a critical mass, and a number of meditators who go into this transcendental meditation state, which is not something I'm involved in or practice, but they've done research with it, and they announce, okay, we're going to go in at this time for this long, and they've tracked, for instance, crime statistics, something that, of course, we have no control over, right? But when the meditators show up, the crime statistics drop. People stop committing crimes, and the dynamic changes. Why? My thesis is that when you can get, as we talked about at the beginning of the show, we're looking for critical mass. If we can get a critical mass of people holding to a human life, holding to the active presence of love, then by holding that presence, those things that are unlike human life are weakened in their control over us. So when we approach, an atrocity, and make up a word, atrocitized. We're locked and lost in the pain and the trauma of that atrocity, then we just added more energy as a creative being to whatever that atrocity is.
Yeah.
But when I come to that atrocity and I recognize I have pain about it, and I first and foremost clean up my pain, and I arrive at that atrocity as the active presence of love, my presence immediately and instantly becomes a transforming power in that situation. So when we can bring enough minds that are fueled by a proper power supply, one of the questions I like to ask in the workshop these days is, how many have got a device in your home or in your car or in your office or in your shop that works well when it's not plugged in? Of course, everybody laughs, and well, that's ridiculous. Nothing works if it's not plugged in. Okay? So hold a newborn child. What's the power supply for human life? Obviously, it's the active presence of love. Are we plugged in or aren't we? If we're not plugged into who we are, we don't function as humans. And the atrocities that happen can't be dealt with or healed by the non-human mind. And most people are unplugged and functioning out of a non-human mind. And so the idea is, let's bring more and more and more people to the table. Let's create a critical mass of people who will come to the table as humans. And then, the person who's handling or responsible for that atrocity all of a sudden has a shift. And with their shift, they step into this awesome presence of a human life. And all of a sudden, the true genius of a human life shows up, and the person who now can call the shots for that particular happening changes their whole perspective, and they bring a solution that otherwise wasn't available. So each person, my input would be that each person who is the active space of love, who is the active space of genius, who turns their attention toward any particular problem on the globe, becomes an actual elemental force for the solution to that problem, rather than coming to the problem with fear, rage, grief, pain, hatred, vengeance, whatever, coming to it as the genius human life that we are, and that the world so desperately wants to rip us off for. To bring that back into expression, to me, is one of the keys to this work and where we're heading.
Well, as always, Michael, what a wonderful articulation of, I think, information that's very right on. it's exceptionally amazing for me to continually I pull myself back into my human state, my beingness. And as I do that, I feel an expansion of awareness. And I like you were talking about earlier, an expansion of you didn't say specifically, but my experiences of compassion, of true humility, and the experience of that. And what happens is that I get understanding that I didn't have in the moment of when I was accessing fear. And I know this sounds very basic, and it is, but I'm just continually amazed by the levels of clarity that is available to everyone. I mean, no one's exempt from it. Everyone is available to the human life, to being the divine being that we were all created in the pure image of pure love in. And
kings don't like that, because those people are not controllable and won't play the insane king's games.
Yeah.
And by the way, Carrie was asking earlier about Aramaic definitions, and in the Aramaic where Yeshua says the kingdom of heaven is within, that word can be properly translated as the kingdom of expansion is within. So that's exactly what you're doing. You're tapping into what was called the kingdom of heaven, that expanded space of a human life that is the point of light in the mind of the Creator that brings the Creator's genius, wisdom, intelligence, and resolution capability to every circumstance and every situation. But humans were given choice, so if we decide to do crazy stuff, the Creator isn't going to come and say, hey guys, that's really crazy, you don't want to do that, because the Creator said, hey, it's your baby. I'm just going to step back. I'll cause your heart to beat. I'll cause your brain to function. I'll cause your lungs to work. I'll digest your food. But from there on, it's under your control. You can originate the most insane things on the globe, or you can originate the sanest things on the globe. There's no other creature on the planet that can originate that we know of. Everyone replicates what's gone on in previous generation. Now, you've heard me use the example of, you're not going to have a pair of robins return to your backyard in the spring in Lansing, Michigan, and hear them have a conversation where he turns to Mrs. Robin and says, dear, every year we come to this backyard of the Montague Bauer family, we build a robin's nest. We've been doing that for 5 years. Let's do something different this year. Let's build a robin's nest. Not possible. Can't do it. We're the only creature that can do that. But we can, and that's a blessing, but it can also be a curse. And the way the world's working, it's been quite a curse. We can do the opposite. We can do the insanity. We can choose rage and grief and pain and trauma and drama and atrocities, and the Creator can't interfere because we were given that awesome faculty of free will. And so when people fall in love with the laws by which the universe operates, then they automatically know what's in harmony with the highest creation and will tend to gravitate there.
Well, again, I appreciate your great conversation. Thank you for addressing that directly, and thank you, Carrie, also for asking your questions and sharing. So it's a great program. Love to everyone. Blessings.
Okay, Rex, thanks for your call. We appreciate you, and we'll look forward to speaking with everyone tomorrow. We're going to get in touch with Blog Talk and see if we can get them to take care of this problem in the chat room. But other than that, we are down to the completion wire of our show. Go to our website, whyagain.com, for a copy of the book, look under download worksheets for radio shows where we've walked folks through the worksheet process. It's all there. It's all freely available. We're delighted to be sharing with you. And we're here to support you in creating the best year yet of your eternal life. Have a good one. Blessings. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Mind Shifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeannie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeannie are here every Monday through Friday on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeannie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.